place like the Cube. Family, it's your favorite queer radio personality, Anna Deshawn, and welcome to our first Feed Swap Friday of 2024. I'm excited to do more of these this year because I want to introduce you all to podcasts that I think you will enjoy too, okay? Now today, our Feed Swap Friday is with Sex Ed with DB. Sex Ed with DB is a feminist podcast bringing you all the sex ed you never got through unique and entertaining storytelling, centering LGBTQ plus folks and BIPOC experts. Now, I listened to this preview and I'm not gonna lie, I'm going to her feed to hear the whole thing. She interviews Alayna Joy, who's a YouTuber who talks about coming to her lesbianism later in life. I listened and she talks about Ellen being a cornerstone, and I can't tell you how many people I talked to who say Ellen was a moment in time when they were like, wait, is this my story too? I'm telling you, Ellen is a through point for a lot of people, okay? So I hope y'all enjoy this story. I think you all will, so much so that you were gonna go to the podcast and begin following and listening. I think it's so good, and I hope y'all enjoy it. Talk to you Monday.
Hey there, I'm DB, host of the podcast Sex Ed with DB, where we serve up all the sex education you wish you had. We're on a mission to provide everyone with comprehensive, inclusive, pleasure-centered, and medically accurate sex education. Every week, we dive into conversations with fascinating guests from various backgrounds: sex workers, therapists, kinksters, gynecologists, and more. Because let's face it, there's always more to learn about our bodies and desires. In this clip, get a taste of my recent conversation with the wonderful Alayna Joy, a YouTuber who shared her late bloomer lesbian journey with the world. Alayna opens up about how she figured out she's a lesbian after years of questioning, highlighting the transformative moments that triggered the realization that she might be gay after all. If you're on your own journey of self-discovery, especially navigating your queerness, this conversation is a must listen. Loving what you hear? Hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts for more insightful conversations. Join us at Sex Ed with DB for a sex ed experience like no other. Here I am with the amazing Alayna Joy. I'm wondering if you can just talk through some of the things that were coming up for you when you were in your relationship, being like, what am I thinking about? Like, how does this label feel good for me? Like, what are my like connections that I'm making to feel comfortable using this label?
In terms of bisexuality or lesbianism or what?
Maybe both. Because clearly you were kind of on that path, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bisexuality did feel really valid to you and felt very at home. And then eventually you're settling on the term lesbian. So maybe like what was going on for you at both times?
Yeah. I think that for me, feeling able to be open and like feeling comfortable in my queerness while I was dating a man was very much about a desire to not hide and to like be who I am, whether people are going to understand that or not. So it wasn't so much, I think I accepted my own queerness to a point, as we've all seen, within myself enough that I was like, people are going to think what they want to think about our relationship, but it was very important to me that I was seen for who I was, and who I was a queer woman dating a man. So that was kind of the guiding principle behind the bisexuality and like being open with that. And then it's so tricky to speak generally about figuring out labels and figuring out what fits because everybody is so different. I know for me, part of the realization where I couldn't look away from it anymore was when my ex and I opened up our relationship. Basically, when I had a breakdown one day. It was after Ingrid Nilsson released her coming out video. I don't know if you were familiar. She is this content creator. She's been doing content for a billion years. She's very femme presenting. She did a lot of lifestyle content, makeup, beauty. She made a lot of content with her boyfriend at the time. And then, oh God, I'm getting chills again, remembering all of this, because I was like, oh God, what if I'm gay? This was 10 years ago, almost at this point. And I brought this to my partner, and he was like, okay. So does this mean, that you don't want to be with me? And I was like, no, I want to be with you. And he was like, okay. So are you saying like you don't love me? And I was like, no, I love you. And he's like, okay, so
he's like trying to puzzle piece
he's trying to understand
together.
like he's the most wonderful person on this planet. And he's like, okay, so you're gay, but you want to be with me, you love me, you enjoy our relationship, you want to build our life together. And I'm like, yes. And he's like, okay, so you're gay then? We're sure? And I was like,
is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm bi. Ha ha ha. Like thinking I just had this moment because I hadn't really explored very much, or I hadn't had a chance to like have relationships with women while I was like open and understanding of my own queerness. Anyway, so we open up the relationship. And I'm going to say maybe 4 or 5 years after that, I started exploring my queerness with women and other queer people, non-binary folks. And that's where I couldn't not look at it anymore.
Right.
Because there was a stark contrast in my experiences with men and my experiences with queer people. So
like how you saw yourself and how you felt yourself opening up or connecting.
Yes. How I felt myself connecting. That's a really good word. Emotionally, physically, it was like there were parts of me that I thought didn't exist. Like I thought that I was demi-romantic because I thought I just don't experience romance feelings really. Nope. Just gay, dating men. I thought there were a lot of things that I thought were true about my body and the way that my body responded to partners, or didn't respond, that I thought was just my body. Nope. Just gay and dating men.
So fascinating.
Yes. So for me, there was a big experience component to it, which is frustrating for a lot of people who are questioning to hear, because a lot of the people that write into me, a lot of them are women in monogamous relationships with men questioning their sexuality. So it's not helpful for me to say I had to experience it. That's how I knew.
Right.
But the big shift kind of in a more abstract shift was my understanding of the difference between experiencing desire myself and enjoying the experience of being desired. So when I realized that my whole life, what I was mistaking for desire was actually just an enjoyment of somebody else desiring me, it was
wow.
Yes, it was like, oh, wow.
I saw, sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
this is
please.
relevant. It's your own video. I saw a video of yours that was about you being like, you thinking about like all the guy friends that you had and like how you've had a crush on all of them. And I just really love that moment in the video. You're just like, wait a minute.
Yep.
Hold on. You're like live thinking through like what that feels like. And I think this is relevant to this idea of like mistaking your kind of like feelings for how it feels to have someone else feel for you. And I think this is where like the messiness of like of like crushes and friendships and romance can like swirl around here.
Yeah.
And that point is just really interesting to me of like, do I authentically like this, or do I just like that you like me, and like how to parse those feelings
and how to parse out whether they like me or not, how to parse out friendship from romance. Like I didn't understand. I didn't know the difference because I had very, very few experiences of romantic attraction. So I was misunderstanding a lot of my own experience as attraction when that's not what it was. And then when I started experiencing attraction and allowing myself to lean in, like allowing myself to be in that feeling of attraction, like of experiencing attraction myself, that's when it was like, oh, this feels very different than these other things that I thought were attraction in the past. And, you know, I'm still learning my own body, I'm still learning my own, the way that I experience attraction. I'm still learning that for myself because I misunderstood it for so many years.
Mm-hmm. When you were a kid, do you feel like there were kind of like these moments of like you would see women either like cartoons or kind of like in real life or in movies, and you would be like, oh, like there's an attraction there, but maybe it's related to like the makeout scene of like with a guy, or like how did you kind of like connect that from your childhood?
Yeah. See, I didn't make the connection that what I was experiencing was attraction. Like that, the break, there wasn't even, this is something that, how do I explain this? This is part of the reason that this took me so long, is like, I genuinely, it didn't occur to me that what I was experiencing was attraction. So there were no mental loop, like gymnastics. There were no jumping through hoops, convincing myself of whatever.
You didn't overthink it.
No, because I didn't, like Meg from Hercules. Yeah. Obsessed. I was obsessed with her.
Of course.
Like that, it was my favorite movie because I loved Meg from Hercules. Yeah. I had this best friend in elementary school that like, when she moved away, I cried for days. I'd break up with a boyfriend and not, like, my mom has said to me that she was worried about me because I flew through boyfriends so fast in junior high. Like I had 50 of them, and we would break up and I'd be on to the next one. And my mom was like, oh, this is concerning behavior from Alayna.
You're like, no, Mom, I'm just in my slut era. Grow up.
She was like, when you break up with someone, like, aren't you supposed to be sad? And I was just like, like couldn't give two shits.
That's so interesting.
So there wasn't this, like, I think it was so deep down repressed, but not even repressed, because this is maybe a bit of a twisted thing to say. And I don't mean it like, I don't actually mean like this was a good thing, because it obviously was not. But maybe in some way, that was the benefit of like growing up religious. It was like, it wasn't presented to me as an option that girls could like girls. I didn't know until Ellen came out.
Right.
Like, I remember the moment. I remember where I was. I remember who I was with, what I was doing when I found out Ellen was gay. Because I was like, wait, women can be gay? I didn't know.
They're allowed?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Wow. So
there wasn't this like jumping through hoops in my own brain to like convince myself of my feelings for women. Because I just was like, I don't know, I just like them.
If you enjoyed what you heard, rate and review us inside your favorite podcasting app. This podcast is written and produced by me, Anna Deshawn, and brought to you by E3 Radio, your #1 queer radio station playing queer music and reporting on queer news in high rotation.